Yoga is among the most popular fitness forms to have particularly gained attention after the onset of the pandemic. If you're looking to adopt yoga, we have celebrity yoga trainer Anshuka Parwani address some questions. Now, I know you've spoken about this story with me, which is about your introduction to yoga. Can you share that story with our viewers?
So, yoga came to me at a very, very early age before I even knew it, because my mum used to be a yoga teacher and I had asthma as a child. So I used to practice all these breathing techniques, which are actually pranayams, but my mother used to make it fun for me. But when it really came into my life and I was conscious about it is when I used to be a commercial pilot and I had a job with the airlines and I got into a bike accident, which was near fatal. And I was bedridden for about a year. I couldn't walk, so it was very hard. And today I can speak about it like it never happened to me. And I really owe that to my yoga journey. For a long time after that, I was medically unfit, which means you cannot go back and fly commercially. So because of that, after physiotherapy, I started yoga as therapy for me, more than physical, for my mental. My mental trauma was so much. It's easier to fix physical trauma because there are doctors and, there are bandages and things like that you're really fixing. But what happens to you internally, I think only the practice of yoga can really help you to internalize, to connect and get over. I did get medically fit. I started walking again and I was about to go back to the airlines, but I just knew that this is what I want to do. And here I am.
When someone comes to you to learn yoga, what are the different forms of yoga that you know could help them? So what do they come to you with and what do you recommend to them when they come to you?
So the most common ask is that I want to lose weight. Of course, that is the most common. But what I've seen really shifting now is that, hey, I want to sleep better. I want to feel better, or I want to just feel good. And I have been working out for so long and I have not been achieving, sleeping better or feeling a little less stressed out, because everything has become so hard right now. How we really design classes, everything is very individual. We understand that bio-individuality also works with not only what you eat and put into your body, what you think, but also how you move. So depending on what their goals are, for example, if somebody wants to they really want to improve their flexibility, I definitely push them towards doing more of the fly fit, more of the Iyengar yoga, more of the stretches and restorative yin yoga, which really lengthens. To be very honest, all schools of yoga really does that, because the essence of yoga is Ashtanga yoga, which is the 8 limbs of yoga, and asana and pranayama are just 2 limbs. And from that asana, there are so many different schools of yoga. So your Iyengar yogas with your ropes, your props, you would have seen the bricks, the wheel, things like that to really assist you. Then the fly fit has the hammock that's really helping you to lengthen. Then Ashtanga yoga, which is the Mysore style, which there are X number of postures that you repeat every single day. So there is a primary series, secondary series. So the beginner series is a primary series, and that is more dynamic and that's more challenging physically than an Iyengar yoga. That could maybe take your heart rate higher, faster. It could break a sweat faster, and it really helps in toning, etc. Then we have Hatha yoga. And Hatha yoga, what we do is we hold postures for a longer time. So depending on how the body is reacting, it will be incorrect for me to say that if Sonia wants to lose weight, she needs to do XYZ and I have to do something else. So really we work with each body type to understand how the body is really responding, because not necessarily what works for you will work for me. So because we've been certified, me as well as my trainers and the team, we really work with each one's body. That's why we really prefer the smaller groups or one-on-one private classes to really understand how the body functions. But then right now there are so many different types of yoga, which is some crazy ones that we were talking about earlier, which is beer yoga, XYZ yoga, and that for me personally, that does not mean yoga. Yoga is the union of mind, body, soul, and asana is just one of the limbs of yoga that we are working on.
Can you talk to us about what these different forms cater to? So, is one form primarily for people who want to lose weight, or is another form for someone who wants to deal with physical aches in the body, or are they all catering to each one of them?
Every school of yoga, the asana practice, deals with your flexibility, it deals with your connecting your breath, your mind with your movement, it strength, stamina, endurance. It's really how you design that particular repertoire. So for example, let's start with the most basic, which is the Surya Namaskar, right? The oldest school of yoga has the Surya Namaskar in the basic 12 steps. Then we've made it a variation, made it 10 steps. The Mysore primary Ashtanga series uses a jump in between the Surya Namaskar and a little more challenging, it's called the Chaturanga, which is like a push-up. So instead of going all the way down to the ground, you're going halfway, which is challenging you more. So these are variation and hybrid versions, but the authenticity of the asana is not lost. So yes, depending on where you are, your limitations of your body, if you are somebody who has an injured shoulder, that's not something I would recommend initially till we strengthen the shoulder to do that particular chaturanga. And why I say chaturanga, because that's actually something which is very famous in the yogi world, and everybody wants to get that particular pose. Then for example, the headstand, the Shirshasana, right? I would recommend somebody doing an inversion on the hammock.
Okay.
Right? So there is, if you have an injured neck or injured shoulders, or you're not strong enough, you're still gaining the benefits doing the other style of yoga, but you're not injuring yourself or you're not putting too much pressure on yourself. So what is beautiful about all the forms, everyone's sticking to the authenticity. It really depends on what works for you. So that's why I love taking a little bit from everything. So it's not restricting anyone. I believe that yoga is about freedom. It's about enjoying. If you want to do that headstand, why should you not gain the benefits of being upside down? If you have an aid, why do you need to work for 6 months to build that? Yes, we are doing it simultaneously, but that shouldn't stop you today. So that's what I enjoy with the freedom of the different kinds of the schools of yoga.
Which one were you introduced to when you began?
I actually, like I said, as a child, growing up, I was the most authentic. The Ashtanga Hatha Yoga is what I used to do along with my pranayam. Then right after the accident as rehab, I started with Iyengar Yoga, which is a lot of aids. So use a rope, use a block, use a wheel, use a chair, because you can't do certain things, which is so beautiful because it doesn't stop you from reaching a goal, right? You're still doing it and gaining the benefit. And then I graduated to going away from props and now I rarely use props. I just go because it takes me back to the time where maybe I was healing. So I stay away from it. But then again, my fly fit hammock is a prop. Right? So, it's just exciting to see whatever works for you, but I enjoy everything. I could just be on the mat for 1 hour just breathing and connecting. For me, that's my practice. I don't necessarily have to do 100 Surya Namaskars or hold a headstand or do anything complicated. For me, just like connecting is my practice.
Can you talk to us about how things have changed post the pandemic? So, we know that I would assume that, weight loss would be a priority before it, but I think there's more attention on mental well-being after the pandemic as well. So as a teacher, what do you think people come to you for, that's changed over these 2 years?
Absolutely, yes. And you're completely right. That shift has happened. It's been a forced shift, a forced pause. Every single human being has felt it. Even children who couldn't go to school have felt it. The elders who, maybe just moved for that evening walk have felt it, being cooped up in just their bedroom or not being able to move. And the stress levels have been so high. So the shift really, what I see is that everybody is looking at a holistic practice, and that's what yoga gives them, which is beautiful because it's mind, body, soul. They understand that just because you don't need to look a certain way on the outside if you're not feeling good on the inside.
Yeah.
So for us, the pandemic has been great. I've seen a lot of people understanding that it's okay to, you can do yoga at home, you can do it online, you can do it on a yoga mat, that's all you need. If you're in a car, you can do those stretches. So there's no longer those excuses is the word I would use, that we have no time, or we're always traveling or things like that. Now they are making time and making those right choices. So that's the shift I see. And what's beautiful is that I think we've been we've had students, we still have students from all over the world, because not only do we work on the offline studio model, we've also shifted to the online model, which allows us to reach so many different people from all over the world, which is something that I didn't do earlier. So for me also, overnight, it really opened up the possibility of, I was somebody who didn't believe in doing an online class. That's why I never did it. But the pandemic taught me that you have to make the best with whatever's served to you, and you can do it. So that's definitely a shift I saw, and I feel like now that I believe in it is why I do it. So I see a lot of people, yes, they have put on weight. A lot of people have put on weight with the second lockdown, I believe. The first year was all about motivation, losing weight, doing all those challenges. But then they did get lazy. But mental well-being is definitely a priority. It's been something, people are talking about it. The awareness is growing, which is so important, which was not happening before.
Because you cater to such a wide array of celebrities as well, I'm sure they have very different requirements from what they want to achieve via your class, whether they want to gain weight or lose weight, or build muscle mass as well, and they might want to take to other activities as well, so whether that's running or lifting or other forms of Pilates as well. How do you integrate yoga into their routines? Do you have a recommended number of hours that they should practice, or is that flexible? Can you talk about that process a little
bit? Depending on every single person's celebrity or not, we are always we never just dive into practicing blindly. We have to understand their goals, where they are, what they're already doing. No matter what, it's still a physical practice, so you don't want your muscles to get fatigued, right? I mean, the one process that we follow for everybody is really understanding what their needs are. And if for example, somebody is already lifting, I would not make them, we do something which is like a yoga burn, where we use little weights that we attach on our ankles, and just like for that, for the extra resistance to really challenge you. So that's something maybe I'll stay away from. Or if like their endurance has been taken care of elsewhere, and they are including a lot of cardio, stretches, or XYZ, then maybe we'll shift towards doing more breath work, meditation, pranayam, depending on really the goals. So, but I really recommend that you should do this practice 3 times a week minimum. I do this every single day. And why? Because I believe that this is one practice where you're closed from everything else apart from yourself. Because I have tried to do different forms of fitness, and even at the gym, it's very hard to shut off, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I always talk about learnings from the mat. When you're on the mat and you're touching your toes, we like exhale, and we also use drishti, which is our gaze. So you're looking at your toe, and you're actually going towards it, you're connecting. Or if you're doing a vrikshasana, which is a tree pose, it's a balancing asana. The second your mind wanders, you will come out of the, and then they just come back stronger and more aware and more connected. And that is not only on your mat, right? It's for the 23 hours that you're away from the mat. Because like anything in life, when you try first and you fail, you try harder, you try more focused. So it's really taking away from the mat. So I also know that for them, it's also like going to a mental, spiritual gym to connect with themselves, So that's how we incorporate it, and that's why I believe that no matter what you do, you should be doing this 3 times, however way you incorporate it.
A lot of people who actually train a lot would have an opinion of yoga that it's too slow, which is a very common thing that we hear. And as someone who's done, a couple of yoga classes, it can be very challenging when it has to be. My question to you, Anshuka, is do you think it's enough in itself? Do you think it caters to all the components of fitness, which is cardio, resistance training, conditioning? Do you think it addresses all of them?
Yes, it does address every single one, the way you design the practice. Right? So we can, and you have to be open to, the idea of yoga is freedom, right? There is no such thing that this is right or this is wrong for me. That's how I look at this practice. That's why I enjoy the hybrid version. So if you want to build that extra muscle or that tone, we do use weights, because sometimes resistance training and just your body weight is not enough, right? For example, is not open to that, then yes, they should definitely go to the gym. But other than that, yes, yoga does take care of all those needs. And also, it's just not your physical practice, it's also your nutrition. It's also your mental well-being. Because if somebody wants to lose weight and they are practicing for and working out and doing everything right, but then they have so much stress which we can't really calculate, they're not going to lose weight. The hormones play such a vital role, and that's why with your yoga, correct breathing, like right now we've been breathing through this practice, but we are not connected, we are not really thinking about our breath until I just spoke about it, So when you your breath really connects with every time you exhale, you're connecting to your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and relax. So you're really tapping into that, and you're also tapping into your endocrine system. Certain asanas and breath work allow your hormones to be secreted the right way. So, you must have heard a lot of people say, I've been, dieting and I've been working out and I'm not losing weight. I've just been plateauing, because, what they're forgetting is that mental stress also contributes, and that's why I love this practice, because it is helping that particular area of releasing your happy hormones, understanding that that's a possibility. Only when you pause and tap into your internal self, because your body is always telling you. Your body is the biggest teacher, because only if you learn to pause and listen.
Do you have a different approach to someone who has an athletic background? So say someone is pretty active and they come to you, wanting to learn a form of yoga. What is your approach to catering to them?
Definitely, of course, there is a different approach in the sense that we will understand the capabilities. Maybe they will be challenged slightly more with whatever they've done. And again, with me being a sports person and understanding that background, I can challenge them a little more. And also their needs, for example, and when I'm talking about actual sportsmen and athletes, they're already doing certain training along with the sport that they're playing. We have tennis players, we have cricketers, we have so many other people, and they're more prone to injury because during the sport is when they're most injured, right? So yes, I definitely work on certain mobility movements, certain strengths, and to increase their awareness more than anything in that particular sport. So that's how it's dealt with, because those challenges are very different. So definitely, it's a very different approach. It's very exciting and it's a lot of fun.
Okay. The last thing that I have to ask you, Anshuka, is as someone who understands this field as well as you do you think that there's a discussion on yoga that is not happening in the market that should happen? Is there something that we need to train attention to that we are not focusing on?
If this was like 10 years ago, I would say yes, but I see this shift, and also so grateful to our Prime Minister to start International Day of Yoga, bringing really out there to say that, hey, this science and this practice was born in India, and we are the ones that have given it out to you guys, and we are celebrating it. I think the fact that we are celebrating International Day of Yoga every single year is a dialogue in itself. Talking about mental well-being, breathwork and pranayam has become something that I see even other trainers in different fitness repertoires really understanding, because I have seen a lot of them recommending their students to do a yoga practice or start yoga, or make sure they have a breathwork and a pranayam practice. So I do feel that the dialogue is changing. One thing where I feel that that's not been spoken enough is about prenatal and postnatal yoga. Women go through rapid changes. They are going through not only 9 months of changes, but pre and post. They have postpartum issues. There are so many different things where I feel like that's the dialogue that's missing about women's wellness and women's health, and just incorporating movement. A lot of women still feel that I'm pregnant, so now I will eat for 2 people, I will not exercise. But I have seen that shifting. But I feel like, yes, like I am trying to use my platform to educate women on movement through their pregnancy and how safe it is. And I still see a lot of resistance, right? Whether it's putting it up on social media, or whether it's doing it with my students, or whether that's where I love how a lot of celebrities have really, embraced working out and doing yoga through their pregnancy, because we see other people following them. So that's something that I think is so important and vital, and that's the dialogue I feel that is missing. Other than that, I think it's amazing that we are celebrating yoga not only once a year, but really we are celebrating it very often.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us, Anshuka. Thanks a ton.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.